Welcome back to AfroChess. I'm Zola, your host, as we uncover the beauty of African chess. Today we'll be looking at a game from the Covardies Chess Championship held in Nyeri, Kenya, with the white pieces Simiyu Jadon, the 13-year-old prodigy, versus Gong, South Sudan number one. This man has had a clamp on East African chess, winning about every tournament he goes to. Will the young prodigy be able to take down his predecessor? Stay tuned to find out. Kickoff for the king's pawn opening. Simiyu opts for the Italian. C3 wanting to build in the center later on. Castles, a respectful game from both players. And D5 throws the respect out of the window. I'm just kidding, it's the best move. In this setup, black usually plays dynamically and actively, as white is usually slightly better because, of course, he gets the first move. Get a trade, and rook to E1 lining up against black's central pawn. Bishop to G4, very active development. Knight B2 nullifies the pin. Knight B6, hoping for white to sleep on the wheel and give him the bishop here. White doesn't allow any of that, slides over his bishop to B5. F6, solidifies his center and avoids any ideas of grabbing the knight, then grabbing the central pawn, not immediately unless he's a fan of the Boches sisters. H3, asking the bishop to move away. Knight E4 centralizes the knight. Apparently the best move was Knight C4. I don't exactly know why, but it looks about the same to me. Queen to D5. Black is slightly better here. White's best plan is something like Queen B3, securing the queen trade, or A4, cementing the bishop. White chooses C4, which also cements the bishop but creates a really ugly pawn on D3 that could become a target. The queen drops back. Bishop takes on C6, justifies his last move. It damages black's pawn structure, but more importantly, reduces black's influence on the d4 square, which allows white to go d4 and open up the center. He loses a pawn, but it's kind of insignificant with black's pathetic structure. b3, knight e3, playing a little bit of hope chess, hoping white can't see up to c2. White does in fact see up to c2 and eliminates the knight. And the chopping begins. Get bishop b2, attacking the rook. The ladies are taken off the board. Another rook trade offered. The position is dead equal. Let's see who's been studying their endgames better. Rook to d7, infiltrating. c5. Gong chooses his pawn of choice and gives back the other one. e4, trying to mess up white's coordination. Get knight d2. e3 is really insisting on messing up white's coordination. Well, why don't we just take this pawn? Well, that loses immediately to bishop to e5, and bishop's forking the pieces. You have to stay alert. Get knight to f3, securing e5 square, while at the same time saving the knight. Bishop d4 is a very interesting move. Looks like you can grab the bishop, but there's the very dangerous Zug xf2. Puts you in check, and later on white will take back his bishop, and you're not getting rid of this pawn anytime soon. Very dangerous. White keeps it simple, eliminates that annoying pawn. Bishop takes on e3, king h2. You really do not want to be stepping on the f file, even though it's an endgame. Your king can come under fire really quick. The moves like bishop d3 check, bishop f4 is very dangerous too. King h2 defends the knight and avoids all that. Get rook a8, defending the pawn. A kind of painful move to play. Agent suggests a5, as bishop could defend the pawn easier when it's on a5, and moves like they draw an arrow, moves like that. And also it takes the rook much longer to get out to go after the pawn. He will not move his rook diagonally, report him for that. Move the rook like that. Yeah, like that. He Black chooses rook to a8, knight to e5, and bishop b1 shows his point. He wanted control over the a file so that he can go hunting for white's pawns. Only one move works here, and white finds it. Knight to h5, a great move. With white's pawns about to collapse, he has to go all in. Let's say you play a casual move like, stealing one of white's pawns. Well, you're gonna regret it for the rest of your life, as rook takes g7 is lethal. You step into the corner, you get mated by a knight. So you have to walk the plank. King moves. Now the knights go hunting. Another knight check. King is running for his life, but he gets thrown overboard as rook g8 check wins a rook. Nasty, nasty stuff. Back to the game. We get king h1, and you ask me, well, how does that stop rook takes g7? Well, it doesn't. You can still take the pawn. If you're a fan of deflections, bishop to f4, nasty, nasty stuff. You're losing a knight as you don't take the bishop, you lose a knight. And if you do take the bishop, I'll just show you. You go down and exchange as the knight, you lose the defender of the rook, the king picks it. Little hidden tactics in endgames are truly beautiful. King h1 does in fact prevent rook takes on g7. You get knight f7 check. Position is dead equal. The players agree to a draw. Just kidding. Gong's not drawing the kid that easily. Let's play, young man. Let's play. Knight to g4 targets the bishop. Bishop b2 cashes in on white's pawns. We'll get to see if white has enough counterplay. Fight back. Knight takes on h6, eliminating that defender and damaging white's pawn structure. The hunt begins. Rook takes on h7, winning back his pawn. And rook d8 is necessary, otherwise there were skewer threats in the back rank. He takes another pawn. Now white is up a pawn. Bishop takes on b2. Knight to d7 check. White ends up a pawn. In the span of 4 moves, went from down a pawn to up a pawn, just showing how over rook, the 7th rank, and even in endgames, threats can be created against the king to win material. Bishop to d5, just centralizing the piece. g4. Position is around equal, but it's not a joke to draw this. So white will keep pressing. Get bishop to f7, intercepting the rook to enable the king to move up. King to g3, slowly bringing his pieces up the board. Rook to d5, centralizing. And the way you draw this game is use your pieces to form a blockade and make sure your rook has checks to push the king back, and also has waiting moves. Knight to e4, rerouting the knight. King g7, just slowly coming off the board, form that blockade. King f4, rook d8, a slight step in the wrong direction, but nothing fatal. Knight to g3, and king g6 is a mistake. Remember what I said about the rook having checks? Well, no checks from now on. Knight to f5 cuts off any possibility of checks to push back the king. Black will try get back his checks in order to draw the game. Bishop to e6. Let's say you play just some waiting moves like rook b7. Well, black's back in the game. He snaps off the knight. You take back, and he gives the check I was talking about. King can go, let's say, to e3. Rook a4. Black's in business. He's gonna draw this one easily, as his king is on a great square blockade, and he has plenty of checking distance for the rook. But white is no slouch. This is the only chance he's got in the whole game, and he will milk it. Rook to a6, pinning the bishop. At h5, trying to muddy the waters. And Simiyu plays a well-calculated move here. g5, creating the passer, not allowing any nonsense. And he keeps pushing the pawn. You can't take this pawn as you'd be losing a bishop. g6, advancing the pawn. g7, the pawn is one square away from promotion. White assesses that all his pieces are perfectly positioned. Plays the cool, calm, and collected. h5. Black's in Zook's one. Doesn't have any good moves. Can't move the bishop. Can't move the king. He's in a really desperate situation. Decides, just forget you saw that. It just happened there. Apologies for the glitch. Yeah, here we were. h5 puts black in Zook's one. Doesn't have any good moves to play. Decides to move the rook. In the final flair to finish off the game, rook takes on e6. Promotion is unstoppable. Knight h6. You have the checks now, but they're meaningless as they hide in the shadow of your king. And black resigned here. There's no way to stop promotion. Beautiful game. Simiyu went on to win the tournament and become the youngest Fide master of Kenya. Probably the first, if I'm not wrong, but I'll double check. What a game. What a game. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any other interesting games you'd like me to cover, drop a link in the comment section. Peace out.